Restart this and kick this off. I'm Hajar Mitchell. Pleasure to meet you all today. Appreciate your patience again. We are here to talk about generative AI and 10 practical AI use cases to get business started fast. I first want to give Kristen Scott, my esteemed colleague, opportunity to introduce herself.
Yes, hello. As Hajar mentioned, we're very excited to present this to the group today. My name is Kristen Scott. I direct the analytics practice here. And again, we're very excited to go through these use cases.
I'm Hajar Mitchell, Senior Digital Strategist. We're very excited to be here today. We'll go ahead and dive right in. If I can change my slide, there we go. Today's agenda has been split out into 4 sections. First, we'll talk about AI and the overall landscape, just the most up-to-date stats about what's going on in the space today, and then also a brief insight into how many companies are really specializing in the different modalities that exist within AI. Next, we'll meet Wow Gift Company, which is a mock company we created to really represent the opportunities that exist to leverage the 10 pillars or the 10 keys that we'll talk about today in terms of being able to leverage artificial intelligence today at your organization. Then we'll get into what you need to get started, just some tips and tricks on best practices to get your organization prepared for leveraging AI, because you definitely need to be prepared in order to leverage AI in a sustainable and efficient way. And lastly, we'll make some time for some Q&A just to make sure we can answer any questions that exist out there in the universe. So first, a brief intro to Wherewhere. If you're not aware about Whereware, we are a full-scale digital agency specializing in really driving digital experiences through strategy and activation. And with that, our organization is split out into a few different departments, which all work together to make sure we can create the best digital world-class experiences for our clients. Starting with digital strategy, everything's rooted in assessing a business from top to bottom, whether it's looking at your qualitative and quantitative data, customer insights, past performance, future marketplace sentiment. We like to take a mixture of all the information we can to make sure we can consult our clients to push their business in a direction that's going to be beneficial for the organization. Next, with custom development, we have a great team of web developers and tech people of all types that are focused on making sure we can create world-class digital experiences from web and to all the channels that ladder up into web, whether it's email, social media. Our objective is to make sure we're leveraging all the digital tools to the best of our ability. Next, for campaign management, any good campaign, any great campaign needs people to manage it effectively and efficiently. We have a remarkable project management team that's really built here to make sure we can partner with our clients to manage the nuances that exist with any type of campaign to make sure we can fully manifest what it is that we're looking to do. And then lastly, all these things ladder up into design and UX. Not only should a campaign or an experience feel good, it needs to look good as well. And our creative team is a group of masters that are really effective and efficient at being able to build out digital experiences that are rich, that look good, and that operate well with low friction. And just a brief look at our NASCAR slide. These are a few of the wonderful businesses we've had an opportunity to partner with over the years. We're always looking for opportunity to leverage our expertise here at WOW to work with new businesses. No matter the channel, no matter the vertical, we have a team that's really primed to be able to help elevate your business. So now, for the moment we've all been patiently waiting for, we'll dive into AI and the growing landscape and a brief overview of the space that exists today. So first, we want to make sure we have a solid definition of what generative AI is, because again, in the space with it evolving so quickly, there's different elements to AI, there's different types, right? So specifically with generative AI, it's artificial intelligence that is a subset of artificial intelligence capable of generating outputs in response to inputs or prompts. So essentially what that means is that it's a system designed to be fed information, which then creates more content and ideas and insights based on the information that is fed with. So it requires partnership between humans and the artificial intelligence to make sure that we can create effectively and efficiently. Getting into a couple statistics about the AI space, this one's really interesting. It comes from IBM. Worldwide spending on AI-centric systems is expected to hit 154 billion this year, which is up 27% over 2022. So if you think about the future, you think about the evolving space, and if you think about the players that are entering this space, this number is sure to grow over the next decade and well beyond that. And talking about players, these are just a few of the businesses that are specializing in the artificial intelligence space. If you look at the far left column, you can see the segments or the modalities, really the expertise that all these businesses roll up into. So you have speech and audio specialists, you have video specialists, search, code, music, etc. I'm sure you all have heard some of the AI songs that have been created. Overall, there's a ton of businesses getting into this space, and you can even see their market cap at the very top of this chart. So what this is really is just an indicator that this space is growing, it's continuing to grow, and there's no signs that it's going to slow down. And another statistic coming from IBM, best-in-class companies reap 13% return on investment on AI projects, which is more than twice the average ROI of 5.9%. So what that means is that the companies that are really leveraging this technology in a sustainable and effective way reap the rewards of 13% ROI versus if you're just implementing it without really taking the time and due diligence to make sure that you're doing the best for your organization, which is why we're here today, to make sure we can share these perspectives and insights on how we can help you leverage AI in the best way possible for your team.
Great. And as Hajar mentioned, there's really rapid growth in AI right now. We're seeing really different examples of AI being used across media, as we showed within that slide that had all the different tools that were able to create these different outputs. When we think about generative AI, we really need to think about what the meaning of it is as we produce a definition there. Generative here to create content. We're generating something, right? And so that's compared to discriminate, or something that's to classify. So what's different between discriminate AI and generative AI, again, is that we're creating something new. And so when we think about that, there's 4 models that we can look at that really focus on how we can create. So the first one is text to text. So this is the idea of natural language input to a natural language output. So we're feeding in text and we're getting something that's natural language text back. The next here is text to video, or text to 3D. So we're putting in a prompt, the natural language prompt here, and we're getting an asset, a video asset, a 3D asset from a text input. The third one here, text to image. So again, we're doing a natural language prompt here, and we're also feeding in different images, and we're classifying those images to the model. And then from that, it's able to output imagery from that. So the last one here, text to task, we're training the model here to do a specific task. So a defined task or an action. So as we look about driving impact, and as we're going to go through some use cases here, it's really looking at what is artificial intelligence doing for us and how does that drive impact for businesses. So our next slide here, we're going to go over those impact areas. So for a lot of us, it's really making sure we use our budget smartly. So we're optimizing our budgets with using artificial intelligence, specifically generative AI. So how do we do that? We're looking at program efficiency. So what I mean by that is we're trying to reduce overall costs by producing those assets more efficiently, more consistently, and so that the length here of producing those assets really is minimized and we can start doing more with that budget. And that ties directly into reducing timelines. So as we're looking at creating content or assets or imagery, we know that takes time. It goes through a round of approvals. We need to make sure that we have requirements defined. And so what we're doing here by using artificial intelligence is we're still having the human inputs here, but we're hopefully doing that at a much more timely basis. Instead of having to do multiple rounds of revision, as an example, we know that if we put in this prompt, it's going to provide a pretty accurate description of something back that hopefully will, again, lessen rounds of revisions or lessen the timeline here. Next would be increasing marketing output. So as most of us know, the volume to create at scale, whether it be messaging, assets, there's a lot of content that we need to utilize within creation of campaigns or engaging different users or trying to promote a specific product. And so what AI is helping support in that is really the volume and scale. So how do we produce this at a larger clip here? How do we produce it for large audiences and make sure that it's varied? And then finally, creating consistency. So in providing these prompts and training the model, the idea here is that we're going to have a consistent output. Although we may be targeting different audience groups, we may have different mediums in how we're going to present that content, we're still consistently training that model so that it will have a consistent output. And that's really key as we think about really engaging with different users and giving them consistent messaging across different mediums. So again, just to recap what we talked about, when we think about generative AI and how we're driving impact, we're thinking about creating something net new. And when we create something net new, utilizing AI, we're helping with these benefits right here, as we described, of really providing efficiency and driving volume at scale.
Awesome. And thinking about next new, again, what we've done is we've created a mock company here. We'd like to introduce you to the Wow Gifting Company. And the objective here is to leverage those benefits that Kristen just talked about, as well as the 10 pillars of optimization and functionality, to be able to really make AI a reality at your organization. So Wow Gifting Company, we specialize in flowers, chocolates, and all these sweet things because we want to wow you and we want to make life sweet. And we also want to show you a real world tangible example about how a company of this nature could leverage AI to be more productive, to have more output, and overall to have more efficiencies. So the question is, how can Wow Gifting Company leverage generative AI? Well, we'll give you a little preview on exactly how we can do that. So we've developed 10 pillars here, which represent a sequential list of steps that should be taken in terms of implementing AI at your organization. Now, what's important to realize is that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation or scenario for every organization. You have to do the due diligence to make sure each of these pillars are applied the right way for your business. But we feel like this is a good representation of the steps that are required or the implementations required to really make AI a reality again at your organization. Number one, we'll start with customer insights and segmentation. Number two would be predictive analysis. Number three would be campaign personalization. Four is going to be chatbots and virtual assistants. Five is content creation and optimization. Six is ad targeting and optimization. Number seven is voice search and optimization. Number eight is marketing automation. Number nine is social monitoring for media and sentiment analysis. And then lastly, and very important, is fraud detection and prevention. So starting with our first pillar, we want to talk about customer insights and segmentation. Here at Wow, we believe that the data that you collect is only as good as your ability to organize and analyze. It's great that we have methodologies to collect data, but if we can't use it, then it's just extra information that's not needed. So it's very important that we collect our data with integrity so that when we leverage AI, we can build out customer insights and segmentation, which give us the detail about our business and how we can plan for the future. And then the case of Wow Gifting Company, if we have information about our customers and how they shop, we can build out these segments to make sure that we're marketing for those segments in an appropriate fashion. If I know that I have 50% of my business spending $20 to $30, and then I have another 50% spending over $100, well, maybe I should put my eggs in those baskets to focus on those two segments and to create content for them. So again, when you leverage AI properly, you can go through your data and peel out all these insights which help you build out the segments, which can make your marketing practice a lot more fruitful.
Fantastic. So as Hajar mentioned, one area to start here is customer segmentation and really insights. And then after you feed the model here, the data about your customers, customer attributes, their buying behavior, what you have the opportunity to do here is really look at trends and behavior and use AI, specifically generative AI, to help predict what the next best step would be. So where generative AI can really help out here is using a natural language prompt here to look at purchasing patterns, help identify what would be good cross-sell items, look at churn rate. And so a good example here to help this be relatable for the group here is we potentially have a natural language prompt that we're feeding AI here to say, we want to understand what would be a good cross-sell product for our flower bouquets. So we sent in the data about our customers' purchasing habits. And then what we can see here within this image is if somebody's purchasing a flower bouquet, what we can do is we can start to send in cross-sell items like vases here to the far right where we have that item list. And because we know from the predictive analysis of AI that that is a tied together purchase, and we're seeing trends behind that, and we have some data behind the efficacy behind that, we can see this is going to help support revenue and conversion for us when we tie these together.
Absolutely. And like Kristen said, once we have our customer insights, we do our predictive analysis, those insights roll up into personalized ads that we can create that make sure we're not wasting any time with our marketing. Gone are the days where you can just slap a billboard in the middle of the city and really target all of the groups how they need to be targeted. It'll cost far too much money, and we're definitely in the business of making sure we can be as strategic with our budgets as possible. So when you can personalize based off customer insights and predictive analysis, that means you could build out ads that really matter for your audience and reduce the amount of fluff that you put out into the marketplace, which overall creates more integrity and more sustainability for your marketing practice, which will eventually spill over into the full organization once you see the power of leveraging personalized ads to make sure you speak to people at the right time, at the right place, with the right products that they want to be served with, or the right content.
Yes, and as Sajar mentioned, personalization is a really good output of generative AI. So really feeding in those prompts to see how can we see from a user's data what specifically they're tied to, what engagements, what products they're tied to. And so in terms of personalization, chatbots and how they personalize the conversation is a good direct next step. So if we think about chatbots are really a good way to do text-to-text AI. So we are having a prompt from the user, maybe it's regarding customer service and they need support with their order, they need support trying to find documentation. So they're sending in a natural language prompt, and we want to make sure that that's an authentic engagement back. So instead of something that's very dry in terms of the response or may not be really effective in communicating what they need to do next or the document they need to view, AI really helps understand that prompt or that sentence that it's receiving and give something back that is authentic, something that's going to be helpful to them instead of something that's blanketed or a little bit of boilerplate language. So a really good next step here when we talk about personalization of making sure that we're providing personalized content in terms of chatbots.
Excellent. So you can see how customer service matters. AI can definitely make that experience better, and it's personalized, right? So again, you're building deeper relationships with your customer base, with your clients, with your subscribers, etc. Related to that would be content creation and optimization. As marketers, we know how challenging it could be to build out all the types of creative you need to support a campaign, to support an initiative, etc. So when you think about generative AI, and a big piece of how it's been used today is, again, feeding in prompts to be able to develop at a more rapid pace the assets that you need for your organization. So when we think about ads that we build out and being able to do something that we heavily recommend to our clients, which is experimentation, you want to be able to leverage an ad that, let's say that this ad here on the left, the winner, performed really well, and we want to iterate on it to see what small changes in messaging, color, imagery would do to the actual performance. So when you're leveraging a tool like generative AI, you can feed it one of your best performing ads with the idea that it will create ads within that same vein, within that same theme, so you can test them against each other. Because testing is the lifeblood of being able to find out what really works for your audiences and what doesn't. Because once you test and develop those insights, you can again reduce the amount of time and money you may waste on creating assets that may not be beneficial for your audiences.
And then talking about the next step from that, you just spent a good amount of time creating the content here with AI. You have a good volume of assets that you have to distribute out into the marketplace. So you want to make sure you're really looking at ad targeting and optimization in an efficient manner. So once you have that volume of content, using AI to look at, am I putting those ads in the correct places, or ad placement optimization? Let's say you're working with a display market here in terms of your advertising, and you're displaying ads in different areas or different mediums, and you want to see what's really most effective. And once we're able to feed that data to the AI engine here and say, you know, what's really the difference between targeting these audience groups with using maybe a header display ad, with using left rail, right rail, different footer ads, whole page ads, we can start to understand what's really the effectiveness of those different types. And so by sending in those natural language prompts, coding the back end of these are where the ads are, and it helps us really drive insight on what's working the best, so that we can put the budget behind what's working well, and then optimize those ads that are not as impact or effective within the market here.
So our next progression in terms of the next pillar that you'd want to implement at your organization would be voice search and optimization. So we talked a lot about UX, and thinking about UX when interacting with digital, it's changed a lot, especially on the mobile front. When you think about companies like Google, Amazon slash Echo with Alexa, and then also Apple with Siri, people have been conditioned to be able to talk to their devices and get a response or get the information they need in order to progress about their day. So we still text heavily, we still leverage the ability to put in text-based prompts. But when thinking about our overall UX as individual organizations, we want to be on the cutting edge of being able to make sure we can facilitate the expected user journey of the time. So if I have the ability to talk into my Galaxy flip phone and get the desired information I need from Google, perhaps I want that same experience when I go to Wow Gifting Company. If I could talk to be able to describe what it is I'm looking for, when I need it, things of that nature, and have a conversation, then that gives me the opportunity to have a better experience that I've been conditioned to using my phone, talking to Siri, Google, Alexa, whatever it may be, and then having that interaction that makes it easiest for me to transact, get information, etc. So we really think voice search and optimization is definitely a great tool to think about your overall UX, to be able to have conversations in a different way with your customers, knowing that they're already doing that on their mobile devices.
And as we're talking about conversations with our customers, when we think about AI and marketing automation, really we can think about areas where generative AI can support identifying how the cadence or how often different assets are going out within marketing automation, and what really the performance of those cadences are. So a good example is, let's say we're running SMS and email marketing for a specific flow here between flowers and chocolates. And we're seeing that people respond really well when they're getting SMS messages about flowers, and they want to make sure that they're bringing home flowers to a significant other. But not so well to chocolates. So when people are getting SMS messages with chocolates, for some reason, we're not seeing that there's a good return on investment there. We're not seeing a good revenue increase or impact there. Although we are seeing with the more SMS messages that are coming out here, we're seeing a higher impact to revenue. So within what we're looking at here in terms of marketing automation, it's using generative AI to describe to the prompt here, we're looking for the correct cadence, and then having them analyze our different flows here between flowers and chocolates, and them distinctly identifying what is the best cadence for each flow.
Awesome. Next, we dive into social media monitoring and sentiment analysis. I think we all know the power of platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or X, etc. And sometimes it could be challenging for a business to manage the expectations or the rumors or the news that is spread about itself. And in leveraging AI to be able to go through and find those reviews which were unsatisfactory, or to find those comments about your organization that are unsatisfactory. Whether it's true or not, we want to be able to respond in a way that's resourceful, that's impactful, and that's timely, because time matters. You don't want to look up and see that you're a trending topic for a negative reason, right? So if we partner with AI, we can leverage the ability to go in, find out what people are saying about our brand, about our business, and make sure we can mitigate those issues to ensure that false pre false perspectives about the business or organization aren't spread too rapidly, and to make sure that we have a valid representation of who our businesses are out there in the social media space.
And then finally here, fraud detection. So really using AI to really help you weed out where fraud may be happening. So within the backend systems here, acknowledging different patterns and what could be data that is acknowledging a fraud. So the example that we have here are two different purchases. We're seeing that one looks consistent to customers that we have. We're getting a good email. We're seeing the transaction is coming in approved. And then we see directly right at that same time a similar email for around a similar amount here. And we're seeing that that's inconsistent. It looks like it may be trying to spoof an identity here. And for that reason, we can ask AI to flag or to generate a fraud tag for when we see behaviors that are inconsistent to our purchasing trends. So using AI here really to facilitate efficiencies within the business and making sure that you are not spending money getting product out to a fraudulent customer.
So those are our top 10 pillars on how you can leverage AI today. What we definitely want to talk about and make some space for is, what do you need to get started at your organization? And we believe there's 4 very important factors or implementations that need to take place at your business to make sure you're set up to use AI. We're not in the business of recommending anything where you're making an investment that's not going to be fruitful or beneficial for your organization. So you want to make sure you have your ducks in a row before you go spend any money on implementations or new technologies that you might not be prepared to leverage appropriately and effectively. So number 1, make sure your data is clean. And a lot of what this comes with is making sure that you have data governance in place to ensure that all parts of your business, all silos are opened up to be able to understand how data needs to be organized, cleaned, leveraged, so that AI can come in and build the efficiencies based off your data, which should have integrity before you start an implementation. Next would be determining what makes sense for your organization. We said at the beginning of the webinar that what really matters is that you're implementing what's going to work for your business. So you have to have due diligence planning with your executive teams, with your cross-functional teams, to make sure that you fully understand what it is you want to get from AI and how your business is going to leverage it to do better business in the future. Next, you want to get full buy-in across the organization. So, there are many cases where sometimes campaigns or initiatives can be siloed, and perhaps Group A doesn't know about what Group C is doing. But in the case of AI, we really need to make sure that the team is all across the board on the same page, because in order for AI to be the best it can be for your team and for your organization, you have to have full buy-in across all departments to make sure every stone is uncovered regarding how AI is going to be used, how we're going to use it, and how we're going to see the benefits from it. And then lastly, the perspective we always have, and this is for a ton of our campaigns, any initiatives, in most cases, in things in life, you will need to have a flexible mindset to test, learn, optimize, and repeat. So even when you're pushing a campaign live, if you view it as a test, knowing that not only will it perform, but you're looking to build out insights and learn things that can help you optimize for the next instance of that live campaign or test. So when implementing AI, you have to be open to the idea of leveraging AI in different ways and testing out things that may or may not work, so you know how to leverage the technology for the best of your ability in the future. And with that, we would like to take some time for questions. We know we had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but I think we do want to field a few.
Great, Hajar, I've got some questions here. So the first one here is from Sarah. She has a question here: how do I protect my budget while still letting the AI target and deploy ads? So I can take this one, Hajar. So good question, Sarah. How do you protect your budget when you're having AI deploy and target ads? So really, when you think about that, it's setting guardrails. So when you are using AI to support those media activities, you're also using platforms to deploy those ads that have guardrails that you can set up. So budget guardrails, how much do you want to spend on specific audience targeting that's being generated? Also, how long do you want to run the ad? So if you know that you are spending at a certain rate per day, and you want to make sure that you fit within your budget, make sure that you've got an acknowledged timeline of when that is going to shut off. And really making sure that you're acknowledging how it's deploying the ads here. So you want to make sure that you've got a media plan here built out that is recognizing how often these ads are going out, the spend that you're hitting per day on that, and really being able to project or even use AI to project what your cadence of spend is and that you're forecasting that. So really good question on how you protect your budget. And just to summarize there, just make sure you're setting up guardrails and acknowledging how often they're spending and how often they're going out into market. All right, so we've got another one here, Hajar. This is from James. I've heard generative AI lies or hallucinates. How do we safeguard against that?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. I think it was a funny question, right? The hallucination piece. I would say you have to view generative AI as an extension of your own creation. And with your own creations, you want to be diligent about proofreading and really reviewing the content that's created. I think about myself in my creation modes, even if it's something as simple as an email, I'll probably read it 6 to 8 times just to make sure I captured all the thoughts correctly. It's clear. Maybe I could look at it from a different perspective to see how the people who's receiving my email would read it. So with anything you're generating from generative AI, you have to look at it as something that needs to be vetted, it needs to be reviewed, and it needs to be approved, because ultimately we're not leveraging AI as if it is the expert in what it is we're creating. It's really our assistant in helping us create even more, more effectively, more efficiently. So with those creations, you need to be very diligent about proofreading. My dad says, read everything 3 times, triple check your work. So in the space of generative AI, those creations, while they're great, need to be reviewed thoroughly before you put them out into the marketplace to represent your business.
All right, and I think we have time for one more question here. We have one from Raquel. She says here, is generative AI suitable for small businesses, or is it mainly beneficial for larger enterprises? So I can take this one. So that's a really good question. So when you're thinking about AI and generative AI specifically, I think there's definitely thoughts around that it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of people to set these models up. And definitely in that aspect of if you are directly building the model, that can take time. And if you're a small business, you may not have the resources to do that. But what we need to keep in mind is that a lot of the tools and the platforms that we're using today have AI starting to be built in to those. So I would say, it is suitable for small businesses, for medium businesses, medium enterprise, large enterprise businesses and organizations. You can use that across the board because for those reasons that I just mentioned. One, if you are wanting to train the model, build the model, you have the resources, you're a large enterprise, you have data scientists, you have team members who can help build those models, you can start to do that and really generate a lot of efficiency within your team. If you're just starting out as a small business, don't feel like you can't use AI or if it's not in reach for you. You have to think about all of the platforms that you're probably using right now that have embedded AI techniques. And the thing that you need to think about in using those platforms and using those AI techniques or those models is really acknowledging what Hajar went over and what I went over on making sure that you're feeding those models good data. So as you're building out within your platforms, you're building out so that you're feeding it correct data about your users. You're not sending it a bunch of duplicates or unreadable prompts. You're sending in prompts that it's going to be able to understand and grow off of. And that may seem daunting, but I think once you get into some of these tools and you see that they have those capabilities and those functions, and it can be a quick prompt that you really do maybe on a monthly basis to help it grow, that it really isn't so so odious or really so heavy on effort, that really anybody from small businesses to large enterprises can really take on AI.
Excellent response. Excellent response. We definitely appreciate everybody's time and energy today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our sales team. We're excited to work with any organizations to help them leverage generative AI at their business. This webinar will be emailed out after this session. So again, we appreciate your time and energy. We had a blast, and hopefully we provided you all with some great information that you could take back to your businesses and organizations and get started to dip your toes into the generative AI space. Have a happy Wednesday and take care, everybody. Thanks so much.